Like, it doesn't need to be anything big, but just say, hey, I'm thinking of you.
Right, because like we said, self-care as a caretaker is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right. It is a necessity. It is a must live.
Hey there, we're Helene Christina, licensed mental health professionals with over 35 years combined experience. But outside the office, we are truly women navigating life's blows and successes as wives, mothers, and more. In all of this, we noticed we were living, but not genuinely alive. We reached out to others and realized they were battling the same struggle. In that moment, we committed to helping others with their messy middle. You know, the part of life where you're juggling all of life's expectations, frantically trying to meet everyone's needs and constantly feeling like you're falling short.
In this podcast, we are not your therapist. We are your friends. We are here to help you open the birthday present called life. The gift you were given, but never fully received. We are here to have the uncomfortable, often funny conversations that will lead to discovering you. It is not a starting over, it is a starting in. You are not alone. We are here to throw a party each week where we celebrate you the way you want and the funny moments we all need for healing and so much more. So grab your party drink, come celebrate your everyday birthday with us as we work towards genuinely being alive. We promise you will leave our podcast with big thoughts and lots of gifts to becoming the best version of you.
Today, we're going to talk about something that is so often overlooked: self-care for caretakers. Whether you're caring for a parent, a partner, a child, or a friend, this episode is absolutely for you. Friends, in the midst of caring for someone else, it is so easy to forget to care for yourself. We want to gently remind you today, your well-being matters too. This episode is called The Gift of Self-Care as a Caretaker, and we're going to talk about how giving yourself care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. So let's do this.
This so is. You know, Helene, you spent most of your childhood being a caretaker,
Yeah.
and I spent a good chunk of my adulthood being a caretaker, first with my mom, and then for a very short period with my mother-in-law, and now I'm in the season with my dad, who's 89. And so, you know, this one is near and dear to, I think, both of our hearts. And you said gently remind people, and I want to boldly remind people because I think when we get so caught up in focusing on making sure that our loved ones' needs are met, it is just human nature to put ourselves in the back.
Right.
And I remember with my mom, I was really into bar class when we were going through the end days of her life. And I remember one day, like pregnant with Carl, and my mom was in hospice, and I totally forgot to eat. Like, I am pregnant, and I totally forgot to eat all day. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, I'm really hungry. And I was like, why? What did I eat yesterday? And it dawned on me. And I called my OB and I was like, oh my gosh, I went 24 hours and I didn't eat. I totally forgot. I'm like, I said to him, I go, are you going to call DCF on me? And he's laughing. He was like, Christina, calm down. You were okay. He's like, eat extra today, make up for it. Baby is fine. He's like, if you need to come in for, you know, a heart rate monitor moment, we can do that. Like, whatever you need. I know this is a really hard storm for you. And he just showed me grace. And I just decided, like, that day I was unplugging from hospice. And it was okay if I missed a day.
Right.
Like, for me, I needed to do that. And I needed to focus on me so I could focus on that beautiful being inside me.
I was thinking about what you said. Like, it's so easy to stop or not even be aware of taking care of ourselves. You know, I remember, you know, once I got my treatment plan with the cancer that I was going to do, like 16 rounds of chemo. And at that time, I didn't
Yeah.
know I was going to have like 7 surgeries. But immediately, I texted 2 of Ryan's good friends and I said to them, right, I wasn't even thinking so much of myself, right? Immediately I went outward thinking about my people, like what my kids need. And I remember texting 2 of his friends, like, hey, this is not a storm that, in our wedding vows that we thought would be there. I know in sickness and health, but like when you're that young, when you get married, like you didn't think this would happen, or at least I didn't. And I remember just telling them, make sure you take care of him. Please check in with him, get him out of this house.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if he's going to be okay to do this, which he killed it and did an amazing job taking care
Yeah.
of me. But immediately, I think not just women, but I think so often women will look to outwardly take care of. And like
Mhm.
you said, maybe we do need to scream it to
Mhm.
remember to go inward, to take a moment and to take care of yourself so that you can keep giving. And that's why we boldly feel so passionate about this episode.
200%. I also remember one of my healthier moments was my mom was going in for surgery, and I was there with her until she went under and went into surgery, and the surgery was gonna be a few hours, and I literally left the hospital and went to a bar class because I was like, "I can sit here
Right.
and let my anxiety grow,
Hmm.
stare at the monitor for 3 hours,
Mm,
not move, be paralyzed,
right.
or I can go do something to exert that out." And I remember saying to my dad, I was like, "Look, he loves to go out for breakfast." I was like, and he had buddies that he would go with. I was like, "You need to go to breakfast with your buddies. I'm going to work out and I will meet you back here." And he was
Mm.
like, "What?" I was like, "We are not sitting here for 3 hours. We are not. That is not healthy for us. We are not doing that." And he was like, "Okay." I was like, "Go. Meet your buddies for breakfast." I was like, what
Yeah.
can they like, if something went wrong in surgery, they're
Right.
going to call us. We were both less than 10 minutes away. What were
Right.
we capable of doing? Like, we weren't gonna go into the surgery and be able to keep her alive. We weren't
Right.
gonna go into the surgery and be able to stop a bleed. Like, that's not our capabilities. So, I just was like, "We're stepping out, and we will come back. We will be back." And we were back in plenty of time. We were back an hour before they came to get us.
And I think the beautiful part about our stories, and I think through the unfolding of each and every episode, that we really want our audience to know is that we have made so many errors, right? And
200%.
we learn from our errors how to do life better, stronger, healthier, more connected from with us.
Mhm.
And that's really the vision that we're taking all of our things that we had to learn and gifting it to you. So hopefully you hear a little bit of maybe what we didn't do the best, the healthiest, and you sprinkle in some of that wisdom. So you have choices now, because if you are now a caretaker, you may not be choosing that role. Even if you have a newborn baby that you begged for, you planned for, you dreamt
100%.
about, and that baby is colic. You love that baby, but you
Mm.
didn't ask to have a baby that is now on day 32 crying all night. You are now taking care of that baby. So something again has happened to you that you may not have expected to happen, whether it was something that happened to my husband. You're now the mom of a child who is sick or colicky. Like, I never expected my daughter to have meningitis at 7 weeks old. You did not expect to have to be that caretaker. So it
Mhm.
is vital.
Or if you have a child who has special needs, or a
Yes.
child who's going through cancer, or a child who has, a genetic issue. I have a beautiful patient of mine who is just diagnosed with a genetic condition, and his parents did a beautiful job of going to therapy to be able
Mm,
to understand, like, what they need to do to process their grief
right.
of not having a, and I hate this term, but it's reality of our culture, quote unquote, normal child that
Right.
would function independently and go to college and all that. And this child will go to college, but I mean, there is a grief process and there is self-care that you need to do. And that means sometimes you have to trust others to care for the child. I think some of the most amazing things are the camps in the summer for kids, like the camps for kids with diabetes, the camps for kids with a handicap. All of those times are really amazing opportunities for these children to have their independence and also to give parents a moment to
Mm,
step out.
right. And to do it without guilt.
Right.
To
It's a
take that
win-win.
break without guilt, because when that child gets connected, has an outside experience that you're doing so hard to give them, but it might be just something different that you can't give them, you need to take that time for restoring and resting and dropping the
Right.
guilt. Chrissy and I are big about dropping shame, dropping guilt, dropping judgment.
Absolutely. And, here's what I would say to you too. However, somebody else in your circle or just outside your circle is doing their caretaking doesn't need to be the way you do it.
Ooh, say that again.
However, somebody else is doing their caretaking doesn't need to be how you do it. Like, stop comparing yourself. And that's a really big one. Stop comparing yourself. So, if you were taking care of an ill spouse and your friend is at the nursing home every day and you're not, that doesn't make you less than.
Mm.
That doesn't make you less than. And
No.
if you are somebody who needs to pop in every day for 10, 15 minutes, that's okay. Like, you need to do your caretaking the way you do it and the way your relationship is. And, if your caretaking of a child who's ill means still working so that your family is provided for, that's okay, friends. That's
Yeah.
okay. Like, you need to do you the way you need to do you. And here's what I would say. If you are listening to this because you love somebody who's a caretaker and you're hoping that you can give them wisdom and advice, if you were walking into this episode judging them,
Mm.
pause and release that shit because you are not walking in their shoes and you don't know what it's like.
Right.
And so I would really caution you, if your plan is to forward this to them because you don't feel they're doing it right, please don't. Please don't. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want you forwarding this. If your plan to forward this is saying, I love you, how can I help you so that you can do self-care? Then, friend, I love you and I'm sending you a giant hug through the recording.
Mm. Mm.
Because people who are caretakers need care too.
Yes.
And I love what you said when you called Ryan's best friends and said, hey, he's going to need your support as my caretaker. And, one of the things that I loved my dad did is Tuesdays and Thursdays, he was a biker. Tuesdays and
Aw.
Thursdays, he would bike with his buddies.
Yep.
And I would try to come over and be with my mom, or he would time it in a way that my mom would nap the entire time he was gone, that kind of a thing, so that he still got that self-care. And I have to say, that was a huge part of his grief when she passed away, was still being able to go biking because he still had that routine
Right.
even after she was gone.
He invested and maintained a piece of himself that
Mhm.
after the loss of her, he didn't lose him completely.
Right. And I think that's huge with caretaking. If your identity becomes wrapped up in caring for that person and that's all you live and breathe and do,
Right.
your grief when that person passes, and if it's a terminal thing, like maybe caregiving isn't a terminal
Mhm.
thing for you, but if it is, your grief is going to be 100 times worse.
And that reminds me
So,
of the story of Grandma Jean that, if you've been hanging out with us, Grandma
mhm,
Jean was my grandmother. She was vibrant. She loved people. She never came home without meeting a friend.
mhm,
And she was a yes queen. Like, if they were like, "Do you
mhm,
wanna play tennis?" "Yes." "Do you wanna go bowling?" "Yes." I mean, she really manifested and invested in doing yes. But then shortly after my grandfather passed away, I recognized she wasn't doing things. And I said to her, I said, "Grandma, like, people are still asking you to play mahjong, do this." And she said, "I have said no for so long," which is not like me because she wanted to be with my grandfather as much as she can, that to go
mhm,
back to saying yes was a little bit of a shift. She felt a little untethered. And that's the thing
mhm,
you need to know, that a caretaker, I love what Christina said, like, you have to let them do it their way. You can
mhm,
offer, "What can I do to help you?" You can make suggestions. But if they're caring for someone that they love and they're watching something that they never expected to see, they have to be given choices. Because
mhm.
again, what they are doing, they didn't choose. So giving them choices gives them some agency and authority over themselves. So for my grandmother, I just said, "Why don't you just practice? Just practice saying yes." because the idea of saying yes right now just feels inauthentic. Just practice. That way, if you say no, that's okay. But I think also if you want to help someone who's a caretaker, give them choices or ask them what you can do, and don't give them your agenda of what you feel like they should be doing.
Yeah. And so I think it's so important that you focus on, as a caretaker, on your self-care too. One of the things that I have done now in caring for my dad is I've made a list of like what's important for me and what do I need inside me to build my energy to be able to give to him, if that
I
makes sense.
love that gift. Yes, say it
So
again.
a
Finish
list
the
for
gift.
myself of
Mhm.
what I need that builds my energy so that I can give to him. One of those things is
Yeah.
honestly doing It's Your Birthday. It's Your Birthday is a fill me up. I
Mm.
love it. I love this podcast. I love reaching people. I love loving on people. Like, this fills me up. This, in a lot of ways, is my therapy. The other thing that I've done is, as I've mentioned, my husband and I have gone to marriage counseling because I want to make sure I'm not losing my marriage by overly focusing on my dad. I think too, like a big one for me was my dad was so determined to have his independence that I probably waited too long to put him in independent living. And I will never forget the weekend we moved him in, and he moved in beautifully. There was no like big
Mhm.
argument. I didn't do anything secretive. It was a beautiful transition. But my kids said to me, he was maybe there 2, 3 days.
Right.
And they said, "Mom, you are so much lighter." And I said, "What do you mean?" And they're
Mhm.
like, "You're less stressed." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not scared that grandpa's going to fall alone in a
Mhm.
big house
Right.
2.5 hours away and I can't get there to help him." I
Mm.
said, "I know that somebody is looking for him every day and expecting him and that
Yeah.
they will help him." And
And that transition helped him and you and probably your relationship.
yes, yes, because I was less, I realized like my anxiety was coming out as a lot of anger and frustration at him
Mhm.
because I was desperate.
Sure.
And even my cousin said, like this weekend we were at the lake with him and my family was all up. And my cousin said, "You are so calm and soft with him."
Um,
And that was huge because I realized, knowing that he was safe, knowing that he was cared for, knowing that
right.
his needs are being met, that he's getting the meals that he needs, that he's getting the doctor's appointments, the medications, like everything he needs, he is getting. Either I'm providing it or this place is providing it. And I'm not having to provide it 24/7.
Right. And part of self-care is allowing, and I'm not saying you did this. I'm just saying sometimes when you are caring for someone that you love so desperately, we want to hold on to as
Mhm,
much of the pieces
mhm,
so that we have like what it appears to be like control over it. So we make sure it's done right or it's done in a way that we feel calm. And not that I hear that you did that at all, but if you are someone who that is kind of an umph moment, that if you are holding on to all of the pieces in the care and not allowing anyone or even a place to help, that can infringe your health and then the health of the relationship who you're trying to care for. So sometimes relinquishing and allowing help helps. And my husband had
mhm,
to do that. I had a very unexpected left turn. I was in the hospital for about 6 days, and my kids were young, and they still had to get to soccer. Like they still had to do all the things while we were trying to figure out what was going on with me. And without asking me, he called some of like you, I have a couple of people who are, like, close to heart, who would probably be the only people I would allow to come and know what was going on and come into the hospital, and he called them, and he said, "I cannot do this alone. I need you, Helene needs you, my kids need you." So, if you are caretaking, allowing others to help in what you are willing to let go of helps you, helps the relationship, helps the person that you're
mhm.
trying to help.
100%. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oof, chills. I think one of the toughest conversations we had, I'm gonna get choked up, was when you said to me, "If my daughter needs you,"
Mm.
and you meant it like as a therapist, "Will you be there for her?"
Mhm. Mhm.
And I said, "Absolutely."
I remember that phone call. I remember where I was sitting.
Yeah. I remember us sitting and having that conversation, and without a doubt, I would have, but in the back of my head, I thought, "I'm just gonna sit with Sydney and cry and hold her. Like, nothing can happen to you, you don't get it." And I was like, "I can't. I couldn't imagine." And thank God I don't have to. But, yeah, I just thought, well, I literally envisioned being in my therapy chair,
Mhm.
and Sydney at that time was about my size because 'cause I'm still so small, and she's so tall and thin. And I just remember, like, thinking I was just gonna put her in my lap and hold her and cry with her. That was gonna be our therapy. Probably completely unethical, but I didn't know what else I would do. And then I thought, well, at least she knows that I'm empathetic. But that's what I envisioned.
Well, I knew, when you're caretaking and if you're thinking, "Who are you?" It's a good thing I'm getting on a plane on Friday because I just wanna, hop,
Oh,
through here because
and Helene has the most amazing children. Like,
they're good
they're
humans.
independent, they are smart, they are determined, but they are just kind humans. Like, they are such kind humans.
And I think
Um,
also, if you're listening to this and something happens to you, right? Because
mhm. But I think some of their softness and kindness came out of this storm with you.
yeah, I mean, when I sat down with the kids and I told them, and the only thing Sydney said, I mean, she was young at the time. She was in fourth grade. She jumped on my husband's lap and she's like, "You're gonna lose all your hair." And the answer, of course, was yes. Day 16, it came out brutally. She got kind of put into the role of caretaking me, which we've had many conversations of how I feel like part of her childhood was robbed and all the things. Okay.
But it was this like, there was nothing you could do. It wasn't
No,
you.
no, no. And she ended up
It was
putting on my
life.
wig and helping me. And a beautiful thing I think that came out of that is that at night, if Ryan was downstairs doing dishes and making lunches and doing all the things that maybe I was doing, she would help tuck me into bed. And I would like to think that even now at almost 20, she's home from college. Every night she gets into bed with us and
Mm,
just snuggles. So
cuddles. Love
good can
that.
come out of unexpected storms of caretaking and
Mm,
accept those gifts. And if you end
100%.
up in a place that you have kids or a partner that is helping to caretake you, I, I go back to just let them. Let
Yeah,
them.
let them.
Like I was going to let Christina.
And it's also allowing yourself those tears.
Mm,
Like, I can't tell you how many times I just sat in my car and sobbed because your grief is starting. As a caretaker,
yeah.
you are beginning your grief process.
Right.
So, crying is fair. Crying is real. Screaming, yelling. Like, I sat in my car and I remember turning the music really loud so nobody could hear me, and I remember just screaming at the top of my lungs,
Mm.
"What the fuck?
Yeah. Let it out, people.
What
Friends,
the
let
fuck?"
it out. That is part of
Yeah.
carrying yourself. If you feel it in your body, a
Mhm.
real way of carrying yourself is letting it out in healthy ways. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. What are some
And
healthy
letting yourself
ways?
have anger. Anger is an okay feeling,
Mhm.
but let go of the guilt. So if you are carrying guilt over how you're caregiving or not feeling like you can caregive enough, whatever, let go of that shit right there. Like, you are doing the best you can with what you have, and be aware of that. And I think too, like, if you are in a season of life where time is scarce, time is sacred, and you aren't able to go every day or multiple times a week or things like that,
Right?
like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That is where you are, and that is life. And you need to let go of that guilt. If you need to put others in place, if you need to find community resources, like, do that. you don't have to be super person.
And this is more about quality of caretaking versus quantity. I
Right.
would much rather someone show up for a visit for an hour where you're completely present, you're completely in tune, you're okay with it, you're connecting with your one, versus you're going 5 days and you're not there presently. You're in your head, you're thinking about all the things. This is
Mhm.
about giving great quality versus quantity.
100%. 100%. And here's what I would say. If you are so focused on caregiving that for that person that you aren't connecting with your own supports, with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers, things like that, then you need to step back.
Mm.
You need to step back. I remember, when I was caregiving for my mom, well, let me say, one of the beautiful things in the Jewish faith is a Shiva basket. And that
Mm.
is something that's given in lieu of flowers or things like that when somebody passes away. What my friends did instead was I would call it a mitzvah basket. And mitzvah is like a good deed,
Mhm.
right? And so they gave me the most beautiful mitzvah basket. And in it was like some baby gifts for Carl, but then also like a lot of things for me, like a calming tea, my ginger little things that I was eating all the time because both my pregnancies, I could literally bend over and throw up. I was so nauseous. I literally, like, all it took was this and it was over. And so, anyway, there was like 2 big bags of those.
Mm.
And there was a beautiful blanket for me in there and just special things.
Yeah.
And I remember when a good friend of ours that we play pickleball with, her dad was dying, we did a similar thing like that for her. We just put like all these sweet little things like snacks and blanket and all the things. My friend Jen did it, who is just like a gift from Jen is like
Mm.
the most special gift you can get. Anyway, with that said, like it is beautiful. And so, like, don't be afraid if you know somebody who's a caretaker, give them a little treat to self care. I remember somebody sending me, as I was going through everything with my dad, a Starbucks gift card virtual. That was special. Things like that. Like, it doesn't need to be anything big, but just say, hey, I'm thinking of you.
Right, because like we said, self-care as a caretaker is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right. It is a necessity, it is a must live. And so, going back to that list, a practical strategy is that list and it's micro moments of care. Like I said, for me, it's doing It's Your Birthday. I also have returned to Pilates. It's making sure that I eat. It's going for daily walks
Yeah.
and not crossing it off my list because my dad needs me to bring him to bananas or something else, right? It's literally making sure that he has what he needs and also that I have what I need.
And it's a reminder, it sounds like, that we're not, like, elementarying this down, but I think the great story that Christina said when her mom was towards the end of her life when she was pregnant, she forgot to eat. So, the elementary list is going back to basics. You need to make sure you have your basics in place in taking care of yourself so you can keep giving to others.
Right. I mean, it's key.
Yeah.
It's key.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things that I would say is something that you've got to do. Like, it's not even optional to make sure that you have what you need. And then, like letting go of the need to be perfect or do it all. That was a
Mm.
big one for me
Right.
is, like I wanted to prove to him that I could do it all, that his needs would be met.
Mm.
And stepping back and being like, no, he's great. Like, he can be there and he can be happy and he can be safe. And, he's right next to his favorite restaurant. He's close to his girlfriend, all of the things that
Right.
matter to him. And he's less than a mile from me is huge because I don't have to do it all.
Right.
And also, like, letting my husband help has been huge. They're both veterans, and
Mm.
my dad's getting a lot of his care at the VA. And
Uh-huh.
my dad actually trusts my husband to take him to the VA more than me.
They just have a different connection.
They do, which is beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
not, and Ethan is honored to get to be that human for him.
And as you were the primary caretaker, when Ethan said, I can step in, and dad allowed it, you said yes.
I did.
You
I
said
did.
yes.
And it's been great for bonding for them.
Mm.
It's been really good for bonding for them. So I'm really grateful for that. And, I think it's also not being afraid to travel. Like if you are
Mm.
somebody who loves to travel and you're afraid to travel to leave that person,
Right.
you can't stop living your life.
That might be an for moment. Say that one again.
You can't stop living your life. I actually was interviewed for an article on self-care in caregiving a few months ago, and it's a beautifully written article. Maybe Haley will repost it, but exactly that. You can't stop living for yourself. So, like, we are planning a family trip in August, and I was so hesitant to go. And I went and talked to the director of the place where my dad is.
Right.
And I said, what do I do in this circumstance if both my husband and I are gone and we're the caregivers? Like, we are the ones that are listed for everything.
Right.
And she said, you can have a surrogate for while you're gone. And I said, I can. And she said, yeah, it's within the will and trust. And I was like, oh. And I went back and read it, and she was right. And so, I reached out to a loved one who knows him very well, who's actually been pretty present throughout all of his medical care,
Right.
and said, would you be willing to do this? And they're a medical professional. And they were like, absolutely, not a problem. Just create a document, sign it, and we're good to go. And so don't be afraid to ask because people want to help you. So,
And what I love that you did is that you allowed that room of exploration. You allowed yourself to
mhm,
have a conversation with the director. You recognize a need, a beautiful experience for you and your family. And if I
mhm,
can make that a hell yes, what needs to happen? So don't give yourself an no automatically. No doesn't have to be a permanent ink. Allow to see how to make it a hell yes, Christina language. And that might
yeah,
mean allowing others to support and help you and the person you're caretaking for in this process.
right. Because the reality is, if you can't self care, you're not going to be well enough to love that person and care for them. So, let me ask you this. When you were going through all your treatment, did
Right?
a big part of what Ryan loves is running and working
Mhm.
out. Was he still doing that self care?
Yes.
Yeah, because he needed that to fill himself up
Yes.
to have the energy to be able to give you his best.
Absolutely. And that was also non-negotiable. I was like, "I need you to keep doing this."
Hmm.
Even though I was envious, right? Like, I think at that time, I had canceled my membership to Orange Theory, and he was going. I'm like, "I love you, and I'm also jealous because, like, I wanna be in the class, but it's waiting for me. But we need you to do this because I know how
Yeah.
important it is for your mental clarity." Yes.
Well, and that goes back to my kids saying to me, when I was less stressed, they instantly noticed I
Mhm.
was a nicer mom. I was a nicer wife. I was a nicer caregiver. I was probably a nicer psychologist because I wasn't stressed about it.
Right. Right.
And you're modeling it for others.
I love that.
You're modeling it for others. And I also realized for me, I had these beautiful children watching me,
Mhm.
and one day I will need care, and I don't want them to give up themselves and their identity to care for me. I would hate that.
Yes.
That would
So
anger me.
the gift of you allowing let me see. Okay, so, I hear things I gotta put in my brain. The gift of you allowing yourself to care for yourself as you're caretaking is a gift to the loved one that you're caretaking, and it potentially is a life lesson gift that you're showing others around you.
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely. And I think too, Ryan was modeling that for your kids. So your kids have learned when they're in moments of incredible stress, like your son is right now, going
Mhm.
through applications and things like that, which is
Yeah.
all exciting, fun stuff.
Yeah.
He has learned through the model of his parents
Yeah.
that you need to care for yourself. Like, you need to work out, you need to do these things, you need to make sure you're eating healthy, you need to make sure you're drinking water. all of the things your body needs for nurturance so that it can be its best. And he learned that because even in the thickest, scariest of storms, what did my dad do? He still took care of himself.
Yes.
He didn't abandon himself.
Right. And that's all we're about. That
Yeah.
never abandon yourself. I love that.
And by caring for yourself, you're not abandoning your loved one that you're caring for.
Mm.
I have a good friend whose child has special needs, and they went to a wedding cross country by themselves and just needed that time away. Like, talked about going with their partner, and their partner said, you're the primary caregiver. I'd love to go with you, but I really think it would be a beautiful thing for you to just have some alone time.
Wow.
And so she went to the wedding by herself. It was her childhood best friend,
Mm.
and it was a second marriage, so it wasn't like she was a maid of honor or anything like that.
Right.
But and she said it was a very laid back, relaxing weekend where I actually got a lot of time by myself. I got to sleep in, I got to go have coffee, I got to have walks on the beach. And she said, celebrate this beautiful relationship
Right.
that they had both done some incredible healing to come to a healthy relationship, which was amazing. And
Yes.
she said it was just powerful to go by myself.
And she trusted her partner, who also recognized
Mm-hmm.
she probably could use that. And that's what we're talking about, the trickle effect, that when you invest in caring for yourself, when you're a caretaker, it impacts the relationships all around you in a positive way.
Yeah. And she said she chose one day to not even call home and check in.
Mm.
And the next day when she called, like, her husband's response was, I'm so proud of you. He said, I'm so proud of you. He's like, I was tempted to send, like, I don't know if you've seen the videos going around of like the dad who's the wife always checks in, like, how's it going, treating him like a babysitter. And he
Uh-huh.
sends her like the pictures of the kids doing like totally asinine things, like jumping off a building, and like he
Right.
photoshops the hell out of them, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, I was tempted to do that, but I didn't want to send you in no panic mode. He's like, I would have done it as a joke, but I didn't know if you could handle it. And so they giggled over it. And she goes, yeah, I probably wouldn't have. But, like, they just laughed about it. And
Mm.
she said she came home and,
Mm.
like, everybody noticed what a calmer presence she was.
There you go. Yeah.
So when you self-care, 200% you're a better caregiver.
Yeah. Like we said, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And I'm
Mhm.
going to go back to what you said. We're not gently saying it, we're kind of screaming it at you. Like, this is your greatest permission slip. And
Yeah.
with lots of reasons of why you need to RSVP yes to care for myself as I'm caring for others.
So our main gift to you in this episode is we're going to pose a challenge to you. We want you to sit with yourself as this episode is ending and ask yourself, what can I do this week that nourishes me even a little?
Mm.
Is it pulling out that Stanley and make sure it's full every day till it's not? Is it making sure that you sign up for the workout classes that matter to you? Is it making a list of what you need to do for your self-care? Or is it something else?
Mm.
What do you need to do this week that nourishes you? That's our challenge to you, friends. We really, really, really would love for you to take just 5 minutes this morning to think through that. Journal, pray about it, or just sit in quiet. But self-care is a must if you're caregiving. Whether you're caregiving as a mother, whether you're caregiving as some other role in the family or a friendship, it's not optional.
Mm.
So, Helene and I are encouraging you to take one step, just one, towards caring for yourself this week. Say yes to help, say yes to you, take a nap without guilt, say no without explaining. And don't forget to take deep breaths and remind yourself, I deserve care too. Friends, if you found this helpful, share it with others. We would be so grateful if you left a positive review wherever you listen. Make sure you go to our website and join our newsletter where you will get the episode before anybody else in your inbox every Thursday morning at yourbirthdaypodcast.com. And also hang out with us on social. Don't forget that you will find Gifts from the Couch on Mondays on Insta. And until next week, wishing you a very happy birthday.